Welcome to episode 1 of the 33 Strategies of War Applied to Capitalism. I'm Xavier Savage, your host from the Inertia Over Inspiration Podcast. Today we're diving deep into strategy number 1, declare war on your enemies, the Polarity Strategy. This isn't about rage. This isn't about emotion. This is about the most fundamental principle of strategic thinking, the disciplined choice to name what stands between you and victory. In the quiet of your mind, where reason holds dominion, you must identify your true enemy. Not the obvious competitor. Not the surface-level obstacle. But the real force that blocks your path to dominance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. This is that realization. This is that strength. This is the moment you stop wandering and start conquering. The fundamental truth, let me tell you something most people will never understand. Without a clear enemy, your actions scatter like leaves in a hurricane. You waste resources. You lose focus. You fail not because you lack capability, but because you lack clarity. Point 1. The Polarity Strategy transforms confusion into conquest. It turns scattered energy into focused power. It gives you what every successful leader throughout history has possessed, a clear target for their ammunition. Seneca taught us, if a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. Your enemy is your port. Your obstacle is your destination. Your opposition is your opportunity. The 4 lenses framework. We're going to examine this strategy through 4 distinct lenses that will guide us through every episode of this series. First, the Stoic lens. Ancient philosophers understood that naming your obstacle is the first step to overcoming it. They knew that external events have no power over you until you give them that power through unclear thinking. Second, biblical wisdom. Scripture provides the clearest examples of strategic polarity in human history. From David versus Goliath to Jesus versus the Pharisees, divine strategy always involves clear enemy identification. Third, Edward Bernays' propaganda principles. The father of public relations understood that the human mind craves simple divisions. Us versus them. Good versus evil. Progress versus stagnation. We'll weaponize these insights for business domination. Fourth, modern examples. We'll dissect leaders who mastered this strategy and those who failed because they couldn't name their true enemy. From presidents to tech titans to global powers. Deep dive. The president's Barack Obama, the master of symbolic warfare. Barack Obama in 2008 faced an America bleeding from multiple wounds. 8.7 million jobs lost according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data. Homes foreclosed at record rates. Banks crumbling. Hope itself was dying. But Obama didn't make the amateur mistake of naming multiple enemies. He didn't declare war on Republicans, Wall Street, and George Bush simultaneously. That would have scattered his fire. Instead, Obama declared war on despair itself. His enemy wasn't a person or even an institution. His enemy was the emotional and economic collapse threatening America's foundation. His hope and change message created perfect polarity. Hope versus despair. Change versus stagnation. Future versus past. Unity versus division. This wasn't just marketing genius. This was strategic warfare applied to politics. Result? 69 million votes according to Federal Election Commission data. $750 million raised per Open Secrets research. A decisive victory that transformed American politics. Obama's polarity strategy worked because it gave every voter a clear choice. You could vote for continued despair, or you could vote for hope. You could choose stagnation, or you could choose change. But watch what happened when Obama lost this clarity. In 2011, Obama mastered polarity again with Osama bin Laden. He didn't declare war on terrorism broadly. He didn't target Al-Qaeda generally. He named one man as the symbol of everything America opposed. The SEAL Team 6 raid lifted his approval to 57% according to Gallup polling. This surgical strike eliminated not just a terrorist, but the myth of terrorist invincibility. But Syria in 2013 exposed Obama's weakness when he lost polarity focus. Chemical attacks demanded response. But Obama couldn't name a clear enemy. Was it Assad personally? Chemical weapons generally? Regional instability broadly? Russian influence specifically? His muddled red-line threats reflected muddled thinking. Support fell to 42% according to Pew Research. Why? Because without a clear enemy, there can be no clear action. Without clear action, there can be no clear victory. Obama recovered in 2014 by naming ISIS as his new primary enemy. Not terrorism. Not Middle Eastern chaos. But one specific organization that represented everything civilized society opposed. Airstrikes cut ISIS territory by 50% by 2016 according to Department of Defense data. Clear enemy. Clear action. Clear results. Domestically, Obama's healthcare battle demonstrated polarity mastery. His enemy wasn't insurance companies or Republicans or even the medical establishment. His enemy was a simple, devastating number, 50 million uninsured Americans according to Census Bureau data. The Affordable Care Act insured 20 million people by 2016 according to Health and Human Services data. By naming the problem specifically, Obama could craft the solution strategically. Donald Trump raw force meets strategic clarity. Donald Trump in 2016 understood polarity instinctively, even if he couldn't articulate the theory. Trump faced a political establishment that had failed ordinary Americans for decades. 2 Jobs shipped overseas. Factories closed. Communities destroyed. The American dream was dying while politicians got rich. But Trump didn't declare war on Democrats or Republicans separately. He didn't target individual politicians or specific policies in isolation. Trump declared war on the swamp, the entire political establishment. The elite class. The system itself. This created perfect polarity. Outsider versus insider. Real America versus fake America. Workers versus elites. Truth versus lies. His rallies drew 20,000 people each according to campaign data. He won 63 million votes according to Federal Election Commission records. He achieved what every expert said was impossible: total system disruption. Trump's polarity worked because it gave voters a choice they'd never had before. You could vote for more of the same, or you could vote to burn it all down. You could choose the system, or you could choose the revolution. But watch Trump's failures when he lost polarity focus. In 2018, Trump mastered polarity with his China trade war. His enemy wasn't Chinese people or Asian economics generally. His enemy was a specific number, $419 billion in trade deficit according to Census Bureau data. Tariffs on $550 billion in Chinese goods forced a 2019 deal that cut deficits by 18% according to U.S. Trade Representative data. Clear enemy. Clear action. Clear results. But COVID-19 in 2020 destroyed Trump because he couldn't name a clear enemy. Was his enemy the virus itself? Chinese deception? Media hysteria? Democratic panic? Economic shutdown? He tried to fight all of them simultaneously and succeeded at none. His mixed signals reflected mixed thinking. Downplay the threat, then push reopening. Blame China, then praise their cooperation. Attack the media, then hold daily briefings. Result? Approval fell to 38% according to Gallup polling. He lost the election not because of voter fraud or media bias, but because he lost strategic clarity. Trump's foreign policy showed both mastery and failure of polarity strategy. In 2019, he demonstrated perfect polarity by naming Qasem Soleimani as the face of Iranian aggression. Not Iran generally. Not Middle Eastern chaos broadly. But one man who symbolized everything America opposed in the region. The drone strike halted Iranian attacks according to Pentagon reports. By eliminating the symbol, Trump weakened the entire system. But Trump's fake news campaign showed the limits of polarity when taken too far. His enemy was media bias, which resonated with his base and maintained 90% GOP loyalty according to Pew Research data. But by expanding his enemy definition to include all criticism, Trump alienated persuadable voters who might have supported specific policy positions while rejecting total media warfare. Joe Biden, the elder statesman strategic clarity. Joe Biden in 2020 understood something his opponents missed. America's real enemy wasn't Donald Trump the person. America's enemy was division itself. Riots in the streets. Families split by politics. Democracy itself under strain. The soul of America was dying. Biden declared war on hatred. His enemy wasn't Republicans or Trump voters or even Trump himself. His enemy was the force tearing America apart from within. His Soul of America message created perfect polarity. Unity versus division. Healing versus hatred. Coming together versus falling apart. Restoration versus destruction. This strategic choice won him 81 million votes according to Federal Election Commission data. He flipped Pennsylvania by 80,000 votes according to state records. He achieved what Hillary Clinton couldn't, victory over Trump. Biden's polarity worked because it offered exhausted Americans what they desperately wanted, an end to the chaos. You could vote for more division, or you could vote for healing. You could choose more chaos, or you could choose restoration. But watch Biden's failure when he lost polarity focus in Afghanistan 2021. The withdrawal demanded clear enemy identification. Who exactly was Biden fighting? The Taliban? Terrorism generally? Endless wars broadly? Afghan corruption specifically? His vague targeting of instability led to strategic chaos. 13 American deaths according to Department of Defense records. Approval ratings collapsed to 43% according to Gallup polling. But Biden recovered his polarity mastery with Ukraine in 2022. Russia's invasion demanded response. Biden could have named multiple enemies, Putin personally, Russian aggression generally, authoritarian expansion broadly. Instead, Biden named a specific threat, the violation of democratic sovereignty. His $113 billion in aid and sanctions according to Treasury Department data created a clear choice for allies, support democracy or enable tyranny. Russia's GDP fell 2.1% according to World Bank data. By naming the principle at stake, Biden unified global opposition to Russian expansion. Biden's domestic polarity appeared in his infrastructure strategy. His enemy wasn't Republicans or budget constraints or political gridlock. His enemy was a simple reality, America's crumbling foundation. His $1.2 trillion infrastructure bill according to Senate records addressed this specific threat. Unemployment fell to 3.5% according to Bureau of Labor Statistics data by 2022. Tech Titans, Digital Warfare. Mark Zuckerberg. The evolution of enemy definition. Mark Zuckerberg's Facebook empire demonstrates both the power and the peril of the polarity strategy in the digital age. In 2012, Zuckerberg faced an existential threat. 4 Mobile platforms were exploding. Smartphones were replacing desktops. 5 Facebook was trapped in yesterday's technology while tomorrow's users moved to new devices. But Zuckerberg didn't declare war on Apple or Google or mobile technology generally. He declared war on mobile lag itself. His specific enemy was Facebook's failure to dominate the mobile experience. His response? $1 billion for Instagram. Complete strategic pivot to mobile-first development. Result? Instagram hit 1 billion users by 2018 according to Statista data. 6 Facebook survived the mobile transition and emerged stronger. Zuckerberg turned potential extinction into total dominance. This demonstrates perfect polarity execution. Clear enemy identification. Massive resource commitment. Decisive action. Measurable victory. But watch Zuckerberg's failure when he lost this clarity. In 2018, under Trump, data scandals threatened Facebook's foundation. Cambridge Analytica. Privacy violations. Congressional hearings. Public trust collapsing. Zuckerberg could have named multiple enemies, privacy advocates, government regulators, media critics, competitor exploitation. Instead, he demonstrated strategic wisdom by naming one specific enemy, the privacy breach itself. Not the critics. Not the regulators. But the fundamental problem that created the crisis. His response? Complete pivot to encryption for 2 billion WhatsApp users according to metadata. Clear enemy. Clear action. Clear results. But then came 2021 and Zuckerberg's catastrophic loss of polarity focus. His Meta rebrand represented strategic confusion on a massive scale. What exactly was his enemy? The past? Limited connectivity? Skeptical investors? Competing platforms? By trying to fight everything and nothing simultaneously, Zuckerberg achieved nothing. Trust fell to 27% according to Pew Research data. Stock price collapsed. Strategic momentum lost. The lesson? Even brilliant strategists fail when they lose enemy clarity. Zuckerberg's 2020 ad bans demonstrate polarity mastery under pressure. Facing election chaos and content controversies, he could have named multiple enemies: misinformation, political bias, regulatory pressure, advertiser boycotts. Instead, he named one specific threat: electoral chaos. His ad bans weren't about censorship or bias. They were about preventing his platform from becoming a weapon against democracy itself. This surgical response protected Facebook from becoming a primary target in post-election recriminations while maintaining his platform's essential functions. Elon Musk visionary warfare. Elon Musk's career illustrates the power of polarity strategy when applied with relentless focus and the dangers when that focus fractures. In 2015, Musk faced an automotive industry dominated by fossil fuels. Gas-powered vehicles ruled the roads. Electric vehicles were expensive toys for environmental enthusiasts. The future of transportation seemed locked in the past. But Musk didn't declare war on Ford or Toyota or General Motors specifically. He didn't target automotive executives or oil companies or environmental regulators. Musk declared war on fossil fuel transportation itself. His enemy wasn't any particular company or person. His enemy was the entire concept of gas-powered vehicles. His Model 3 wasn't just a car. It was a weapon in this ideological war. 500,000 units delivered by 2020 according to Tesla data. Stock price soared 700%. This demonstrates perfect polarity execution at massive scale. Clear enemy identification. Revolutionary product development. Market transformation. Total victory. But watch Musk's success under pressure in 2018. Wall Street shorts bet $11 billion against Tesla according to Bloomberg data. They declared Musk a fraud. They predicted Tesla's bankruptcy. They made Musk's failure their pathway to profit. Musk could have fought multiple enemies: short sellers, media critics, production challenges, financial pressures. Instead, he named one specific enemy: the doubt itself. Not the doubters, but the doubt. His Twitter campaigns, production pushes, and strategic communications all targeted this single psychological barrier. Result? Stock price soared 700%. Short sellers lost billions. Tesla became the world's most valuable automaker. But observe Musk's failure when he lost polarity focus with X in 2025. Taking over Twitter, Musk faced multiple challenges: advertiser boycotts, content moderation, political bias accusations, revenue collapse. Instead of naming one clear enemy, Musk declared war on censorship broadly. But what exactly did that mean? Government pressure? Advertiser influence? Employee bias? User complaints? By fighting everything simultaneously, Musk achieved nothing strategically. Revenue fell 10% according to Reuters data. The platform lost focus, direction, and profitability. Musk's China factory strategy in 2020 demonstrates polarity mastery under geopolitical pressure. Trade wars threatened Tesla's global expansion. China represented both massive opportunity and massive risk. Musk could have named multiple enemies, trade barriers, political tensions, manufacturing challenges, competitive threats. Instead, he named one specific obstacle: production limitations. His Gigafactory secured 20% of Tesla's global sales according to company data while avoiding broader geopolitical entanglements. Jeff Bezos, the precision of systematic warfare. Jeff Bezos built Amazon into a global empire through systematic application of the Polarity Strategy across multiple fronts and decades. In 2013, Bezos faced retail giants who seemed unbeatable. Walmart dominated physical retail. Traditional commerce ruled customer behavior. Online shopping remained a niche market for specific products. But Bezos didn't declare war on Walmart specifically or retail competitors generally. He declared war on slow delivery itself. His enemy wasn't any particular company. His enemy was customer waiting. Amazon Prime launched as a weapon against this enemy. 200 million members by 2020 according to Amazon data. Total transformation of customer expectations across entire retail industry. This demonstrates polarity strategy at civilizational scale. Clear enemy identification. Revolutionary service delivery. Market transformation. Cultural change. But watch Bezos under political pressure in 2017. Trump's tax attacks targeted Amazon specifically. 7 presidential tweets threatened company operations. Political pressure mounted from multiple directions. Bezos could have fought multiple enemies: Trump personally, political bias, media coverage, regulatory threats. Instead, he named one specific response: job creation. Not defense against attacks, but positive contribution to economic growth. He added 800,000 U.S. workers according to Amazon data. This strategic choice neutralized political opposition while advancing business objectives. Perfect polarity execution under hostile conditions. But observe Bezos's failure with labor relations in 2021. Union organizing threatened Amazon's operational model. Worker complaints gained media attention. Political pressure mounted for labor reforms. Bezos could have named specific problems: wage concerns, working conditions, union misinformation, political interference. Instead, he fought vague labor issues without clear enemy definition. Result? National Labor Relations Board noted union gains. Strategic momentum lost to unclear targeting. Bezos's 2020 delivery surge demonstrates polarity mastery during crisis. COVID-19 created supply chain chaos globally. 9 Consumer demand exploded while delivery capacity imploded. Bezos named one specific enemy: unreliability. Not the virus. Not the chaos. But customer disappointment caused by unreliable service. Amazon hit $469 billion in revenue according to company data while competitors struggled with basic operations. Clear enemy. Clear action. Clear victory. Global powers. Geopolitical warfare. Vladimir Putin. Cold calculation and strategic overreach. Vladimir Putin's rise and recent struggles demonstrate both the power and the limits of polarity strategy when applied to geopolitical warfare. In 2014, Putin faced NATO expansion threatening Russia's strategic buffer zones. Western influence was approaching Russia's borders. Traditional Russian spheres of influence were disappearing. But Putin didn't declare war on NATO generally or Western influence broadly. He identified one specific threat: Ukraine's potential NATO membership. His Crimea annexation targeted this precise enemy. 80% domestic support according to Levada polling. Strategic objective achieved with minimal resistance. This demonstrates polarity mastery at geopolitical scale. Clear threat identification. Surgical response. Decisive victory. Strategic deterrence established. But watch Putin's strategic success under pressure in 2018. Trump's sanctions targeted Russian economic interests. 10 Western isolation threatened Russian global influence. Economic pressure mounted across multiple fronts. Putin could have fought multiple enemies: U.S. sanctions, European pressure, economic isolation, domestic dissent. Instead, he named one specific opportunity: Syrian chaos. His military intervention secured Middle Eastern bases according to Stockholm International Peace Research Institute data while demonstrating Russian power projection capabilities. This strategic choice broke Russian isolation while achieving concrete geopolitical gains. Perfect polarity execution under adverse conditions. But observe Putin's catastrophic failure in 2022 with Ukraine invasion. 11 Putin declared war on multiple enemies simultaneously: Ukrainian Nazis, NATO expansion, Western decadence, historical injustices. By fighting everything at once, Putin achieved nothing strategically. GDP fell 2.1% according to World Bank data. Global isolation intensified. Military objectives failed. The lesson? Even experienced strategists fail when they lose enemy clarity and try to fight multiple wars simultaneously. Putin's early success demonstrates the power of limited, focused objectives. His later failure shows the danger of expanded, unclear goals. Kim Jong-un's survival through strategic clarity. Kim Jong-un's regime survival demonstrates polarity strategy under maximum pressure and resource constraints. In 2016, Kim faced existential threats from multiple directions. 12 Obama's sanctions choked North Korean trade. Military pressure mounted. Regime survival seemed uncertain. But Kim didn't try to fight all enemies simultaneously. He identified one specific weakness: nuclear capability gap. His nuclear testing program targeted this precise vulnerability. International talks followed by 2017 according to United Nations data. Regime survival secured through strength demonstration. This shows polarity strategy under desperate conditions. Clear threat identification. Available resource concentration. Strategic objective achievement. Kim's 2018 summit with Trump demonstrates tactical polarity mastery. Facing potential military action, Kim could have responded with multiple strategies: military buildup, alliance building, economic reform, domestic mobilization. Instead, he named one specific opportunity: Trump's ego and desire for diplomatic victory. The Singapore summit achieved strategic objectives while avoiding military conflict. Perfect polarity execution by identifying opponents' psychological vulnerability. But Kim's failure under Biden demonstrates the limits of static strategy. In 2021, Kim faced new leadership with different priorities. But instead of adapting his enemy identification, Kim remained silent with no clear strategic direction. Result? No diplomatic progress according to State Department records. Strategic momentum lost through unclear targeting. The lesson? Polarity strategy requires constant adaptation to changing conditions and opponents. 13 Angela Merkel. European stability through strategic focus. Angela Merkel's European leadership demonstrates polarity strategy applied to complex multinational challenges. In 2015, Merkel faced potential European Union collapse through Greek debt crisis. 14 Financial markets panicked. European unity threatened. Economic contagion spreading. But Merkel didn't try to solve all European problems simultaneously. She identified one specific threat: Greek default triggering domino collapse. Her €86 billion bailout according to Eurostat data targeted this precise danger. European Union survived intact. Financial markets stabilized. This demonstrates polarity mastery under complex political pressure. Clear threat identification. Decisive resource commitment. Strategic objective achievement. Merkel's 2017 migrant integration strategy shows polarity adaptation under changing conditions. Trump's trade tensions threatened European economic stability. Domestic pressure mounted against immigrant populations. Political consensus fractured. Merkel could have fought multiple enemies: Trump's policies, domestic opposition, economic pressures, political fragmentation. Instead, she named one specific opportunity: economic growth through workforce expansion. She trained 1 million migrants according to Federal Office for Migration and Refugees data. GDP grew 1.9% according to World Bank data. Strategic challenge converted into economic advantage through precise targeting. But observe Merkel's failure with energy policy in 2021.15. Facing climate pressure and energy transition demands, Merkel could have named specific enemies: carbon emissions, energy dependence, climate change impacts. Instead, she fought vague energy costs while maintaining Nord Stream pipeline dependence on Russia. Result? Emissions rose 4% according to German Environment Agency data. Strategic momentum lost through unclear enemy definition. The lesson? Even successful leaders fail when they lose strategic clarity and try to balance competing pressures instead of choosing clear priorities. The propaganda breakdown. Edward Bernays revolutionized mass persuasion by understanding how the human mind processes information and makes decisions. Point 16 is insights applied directly to polarity strategy implementation. The three pillars of effective enemy definition. First, symbolism. Your enemy must represent something larger than itself. Obama's enemy wasn't just economic data. It was the death of the American dream. Trump's enemy wasn't just politicians. It was the betrayal of working-class Americans. Musk's enemy wasn't just gas cars. It was the destruction of the planet's future. Bernays understood that people don't fight against things. They fight against meanings. They don't oppose policies. They oppose what those policies represent to their identity and values. Your business enemy must symbolize everything your customers fear or hate about your industry. Amazon's enemy wasn't slow delivery. It was wasted time and broken promises. Tesla's enemy wasn't gas cars. It was environmental destruction and technological stagnation. Second, repetition. You must name your enemy constantly and consistently. Every speech, every tweet, every interview, every marketing message, every internal communication. Consistency creates belief. Belief creates action. Action creates results. Bernays knew that the human mind requires multiple exposures to accept new information. 1 mention creates awareness. 10 mentions create consideration. 100 mentions create conviction. Your enemy definition must become automatic for your audience. They should be able to repeat it without thinking. They should feel it without explanation. Emotional resonance. Your enemy must make people feel something powerful. Fear of loss. Anger at injustice. Disgust at corruption. Hope for something better. The emotion matters less than its intensity and clarity. Bernays discovered that people don't buy products. They buy feelings. They don't vote for policies. They vote against fears. They don't choose brands. They choose identities. Your enemy must trigger immediate emotional response. If people hear your enemy definition and feel nothing, you failed. If they hear it and feel confused, you failed. If they hear it and feel multiple conflicting emotions, you failed. Only clear, strong, single emotions create clear, strong, decisive action. The psychology of division. Bernays understood something most business leaders miss. The human mind craves simplicity in a complex world. We live in chaos. Information overload. Decision paralysis. Analysis overflow. The modern mind desperately seeks clear choices and obvious answers. The Polarity Strategy provides this psychological relief. It transforms complex situations into simple decisions. Us versus them. Good versus evil. Progress versus stagnation. Success versus failure. This isn't manipulation. This is clarity. This is leadership. This is the gift of focus in a world of distraction. Your role as a leader is to cut through chaos and provide clear direction. The Polarity Strategy is your blade. The mechanics of mass persuasion. Bernays identified 3 stages of effective mass persuasion that apply directly to enemy definition. Stage 1, attention. Your enemy definition must break through noise and capture focus. If people don't notice it, nothing else matters. Stage 2, interest. Your enemy definition must connect to personal concerns and immediate experience. If people don't care about it, they won't act on it. Stage 3, Action. Your enemy definition must suggest specific, achievable responses. If people don't know what to do about it, they'll do nothing. Most business leaders fail at Stage 3. They identify enemies but provide no clear pathway to victory. They create fear but offer no hope. They point out problems but suggest no solutions. Your enemy definition must always include implicit or explicit action opportunities. People must know not just what to fight against, but how to fight effectively. Biblical wisdom, divine strategy scripture provides the clearest examples of strategic polarity in human history. Every major biblical narrative involves clear enemy identification and decisive action. David versus Goliath, the power of focused opposition. 1 Samuel 17 tells the story of David facing Goliath. 17 But notice what David doesn't do. He doesn't declare war on the Philistine army generally. He doesn't target Philistine culture broadly. He doesn't fight Philistine economics or politics or religion. David names one specific enemy, the giant who mocks God's people. Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God? David's question reveals perfect polarity thinking. Clear enemy identification. Personal offense taken. Divine purpose claimed. Decisive action planned. Result? 1 stone. 1 giant dead. 1 army defeated. 1 kingdom saved. The lesson for business leaders? Sometimes the biggest threats can be defeated by focusing on the right target with the right weapon at the right moment. Your Goliath isn't your entire industry. It's the one factor that, if defeated, changes everything else in your favor. Jesus versus the Pharisees, institutional opposition. Throughout the Gospels, Jesus demonstrates sophisticated polarity strategy against religious opposition. Jesus doesn't declare war on Judaism generally or religion broadly. He identifies one specific enemy, religious hypocrisy that prevents people from knowing God. Matthew 23 verse 27, Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! 18 For you are like whitewashed tombs, which outwardly appear beautiful, but within are full of dead people's bones and all uncleanness. Notice the precision. Jesus targets behavior, not people. He attacks systems, not individuals. He opposes principles, not persons. This strategic choice allows Jesus to maintain moral authority while pursuing institutional change. He can love his enemies personally while opposing their actions systematically. Your business application? You can respect your competitors personally while defeating their business model strategically. You can honor your opponents while destroying their market position. Polarity strategy isn't personal hatred. It's professional focus. Moses versus Pharaoh. Liberation through confrontation. Exodus tells the story of Moses confronting Egyptian oppression. 19 But Moses doesn't declare war on Egypt generally or slavery broadly or even Pharaoh personally. Moses names one specific demand, let my people go. Clear objective. Specific enemy. Defined victory condition. No compromise possible. Each plague targets Egyptian false gods, specifically. 20 The Nile turns to blood, challenging Khnum. Frogs invade, mocking Hecate. Darkness falls, defeating Ra. Moses doesn't fight everything simultaneously. He systematically dismantles Egyptian power by targeting its foundational beliefs. Your business lesson? Sometimes you must attack your competitors' foundational assumptions rather than their surface offerings. If your enemy's strength comes from customer belief in their superiority, attack that belief directly. If their power comes from market perception of inevitability, shatter that perception systematically. Paul versus false teaching, doctrinal warfare. Paul's letters demonstrate polarity strategy applied to intellectual and spiritual combat. In Galatians, Paul doesn't fight Judaism generally or law-keeping broadly. He identifies one specific enemy, the false gospel that adds works to faith. Galatians 1 verse 8, But even if we or an angel from heaven should preach to you a gospel contrary to the one we preach to you, let him be accursed. Absolute clarity. No compromise. Complete rejection of alternative approaches. Paul's strategy works because he names the exact problem: salvation by works versus salvation by faith. Clear polarity. Obvious choice. Decisive action required. Your business application? Sometimes you must declare certain approaches completely unacceptable rather than trying to accommodate all perspectives. If your competitor's method threatens your customers' core interests, don't negotiate. Don't compromise. Name the threat clearly and demand complete rejection. Nehemiah versus opposition. Project protection. Nehemiah rebuilds Jerusalem's walls while facing multiple enemies: Sanballat's mockery, Tobiah's threats, Arab opposition. Internal discouragement. Point 21. But Nehemiah doesn't fight all problems simultaneously. He identifies one specific priority: wall completion despite all opposition. Nehemiah 4 verse 17. From that day on, half of my men did the work, while the other half were equipped with spears, shields, bows, and armor. Clear priority. Defined objective. Specific allocation of resources. No distraction tolerated. Nehemiah succeeds because he maintains focus on the primary objective while addressing secondary threats only as they directly impact the main mission. Your lesson? Your business wall is your core strategic objective. Everything else is secondary. Allocate resources accordingly. Defend the mission against all distractions. The pattern of divine strategy. Biblical polarity strategy follows consistent principles: clear enemy identification without personal hatred, specific objectives with defined victory conditions, resource allocation based on strategic priorities, unwavering focus despite multiple pressures, divine purpose claimed for human action. These principles apply directly to business warfare. You can respect your opponents while defeating their objectives. You can maintain personal integrity while pursuing competitive victory. Scripture teaches us that clarity of purpose, focused action, and unwavering commitment overcome apparently superior forces when aligned with higher purpose. Your business mission must connect to something larger than profit. Your enemy definition must serve something greater than personal ambition. Your victory must benefit something beyond your immediate interests. When you align business polarity with divine purpose, you access power beyond your natural capabilities. Stoic interpretation, philosophical foundation. The Stoic philosophers understood that external obstacles have no inherent power. They become powerful only when we give them power through unclear thinking and scattered action. Marcus Aurelius, the emperor's clarity. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire while facing enemies on every border. Parthians in the east. Germans in the north. Plague within. Political opposition at home. But Aurelius didn't try to fight all enemies simultaneously. He applied systematic polarity strategy across multiple fronts while maintaining philosophical clarity about the nature of opposition itself. In his Meditations, Aurelius writes, "The impediment to action advances action." Point 22. What stands in the way becomes the way. This isn't passive acceptance. This is strategic reframing. Your enemy becomes your opportunity. Your obstacle becomes your path. Your opposition becomes your advantage. Business application? Your strongest competitor reveals your greatest market opportunity. Their weakness is your strength. Their limitation is your opening. Their failure is your success. Aurelius demonstrates that polarity strategy isn't about hatred or anger. It's about clarity and focus. You name your enemy not to destroy them personally, but to advance yourself strategically. Seneca, the advisor's wisdom. Seneca understood that scattered attention creates scattered results. In his letters to Lucilius, he consistently advocates for focused action over diverse activity. Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind focused on one thing makes progress. This principle applies directly to enemy definition. You can fight one enemy successfully or multiple enemies unsuccessfully. You cannot do both simultaneously. Seneca's business wisdom transcends centuries. Concentrate your force against your primary obstacle rather than dispersing your energy against secondary challenges. When you face multiple threats, identify the one that, if defeated, eliminates or significantly reduces all others. That's your primary enemy. Everything else is distraction. Seneca also teaches us about emotional regulation during conflict. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. 23. Your enemy definition must come from reason, not emotion. Hot anger leads to poor targeting. Cool analysis leads to precise action. Take time to identify your real enemy. Don't let immediate pressures force premature declarations. Strategic patience creates tactical advantage. Epictetus, the slave's freedom. Epictetus understood powerlessness and transformation better than any philosopher in history. Born a slave, he achieved intellectual freedom through strategic thinking about what he could and couldn't control. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Your reaction begins with accurate enemy identification. You can't control market conditions, but you can control your response to them. You can't control competitor actions, but you can control your strategy against them. Epictetus teaches us to distinguish between what is up to us and what is not up to us. 24. Not up to us: competitor strategies, market conditions, economic cycles, regulatory changes, customer preferences. Up to us: our strategy, our focus, our resource allocation, our response timing, our action intensity. Polarity strategy helps you focus on what you can control while accurately assessing what you cannot. Your enemy is never the external condition itself. Your enemy is your own unclear response to that condition. The Stoic process of enemy identification. Stoic philosophy provides a systematic approach to enemy identification. Step 1. Objective analysis. What exactly is blocking your progress? Strip away emotions, assumptions, and irrelevant details. What specific force prevents you from achieving your specific objective? Step 2. Control assessment. Which aspects of this obstacle can you influence and which cannot? Focus your enemy definition on factors within your sphere of influence. Step 3. Resource evaluation. What assets can you deploy against this enemy? Time, money, talent, relationships, information, technology. Your enemy definition must align with your capability to actually fight and win. Step 4. Victory definition. How will you know when this enemy is defeated? Stoics demand clear, measurable objectives. Vague goals produce vague results. Point 25. Step 5. Commitment assessment. Are you willing to pay the price for victory? Stoic philosophy demands honest evaluation of costs before beginning any campaign. Stoic emotional regulation during warfare. The Stoics teach us that effective strategy requires emotional control. You cannot think clearly when dominated by passion. Marcus Aurelius, how much trouble he avoids who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does. Don't let competitor actions determine your emotional state. Don't let market conditions control your strategic thinking. Maintain internal calm while executing external pressure. Your enemy exists to be defeated, not to make you angry. Anger clouds judgment. Fear paralyzes action. Hatred consumes energy needed for victory. Point 26. Approach your enemy with the cool professionalism of a surgeon removing a tumor. Necessary work. Precise action. No personal animosity required. The virtue of strategic patience. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the importance of timing in all human action. Point 27. The right action at the wrong time fails. The wrong action at the right time fails. Only the right action at the right time succeeds. Your enemy definition must include timing considerations. When should you declare war? When should you attack? When should you negotiate? When should you withdraw? Seneca, nothing, to my way of thinking, is a better proof of a well-ordered mind than a man's ability to stop just where he is and pass some time in his own company. 28. Sometimes the most powerful action is strategic delay. Let your enemy reveal weakness. Let market conditions shift in your favor. Let resources accumulate for decisive strike. Patience is not passivity. Patience is preparation. Use waiting time to sharpen your weapons, strengthen your position, and clarify your targeting. Stoic acceptance of warfare reality. The Stoics understood that conflict is inherent in human existence. You cannot avoid it. You can only choose how to engage it. Epictetus, wealth consists in not having great possessions, but in having few wants. 29. Apply this wisdom to enemy definition. You don't need to defeat every opponent. You need to defeat the right opponent. You don't need to win every battle. You need to win the decisive battle. Stoic strategy emphasizes economy of force. Minimum necessary action for maximum strategic result. This requires precise enemy identification and surgical response. Don't declare more wars than you can win. Don't fight longer campaigns than you can sustain. Don't commit more resources than you can afford to lose. Strategic restraint often produces better results than unlimited aggression. Self-reflection questions, deep strategic analysis. Before we move to tactical implementation, you must conduct honest self-assessment. These questions will reveal whether you truly understand your strategic position or whether you're operating from assumptions, emotions, and incomplete information. Primary enemy identification. Question 1. What is your real enemy right now? Not the obvious competitor. Not the surface-level obstacle. But the fundamental force that, if removed, would transform your entire strategic position. Be specific. Competition is not an enemy. Market conditions is not an enemy. Lack of resources is not an enemy. These are categories, not targets. Your enemy must be something concrete enough to attack directly. Our competitor's pricing advantage in the Northeast market is an enemy. Customer perception that our service is unreliable is an enemy. My team's resistance to new technology adoption is an enemy. Question 2. How did this enemy come to exist? What created this obstacle? Understanding origin helps you understand weakness. Every enemy has a birth point, a growth phase, and potential death conditions. If your enemy is customer perception of unreliability, when did this perception begin? What events reinforced it? What would be required to change it? Historical analysis reveals strategic opportunities. Point 30. Your enemy's creation story contains clues about its destruction requirements. Question 3. What would happen if you ignore this enemy completely? Sometimes the best strategy is strategic neglect. Some enemies defeat themselves if given enough time and rope. But most enemies grow stronger through neglect. They gain confidence, resources, and strategic position while you focus elsewhere. Honest assessment, is this enemy self-limiting or self-reinforcing? Does time work for you or against you? Resource and capability assessment. Question 4. What specific capabilities do you possess that could defeat this enemy? Don't assume you need new resources. Often victory comes from better deployment of existing assets. List your current advantages: financial resources, human talent, market position, brand recognition, customer relationships, technological capabilities, strategic partnerships. Which of these advantages directly address your enemy's vulnerabilities? Which could be redirected from less important activities to this primary fight? Question 5. What capabilities would you need to develop to defeat this enemy? Be realistic about development timelines and costs. Some capabilities take years to build. Others can be acquired quickly through hiring, partnership, or acquisition. Strategic honesty. Can you build these capabilities faster than your enemy can strengthen their position? Can you afford the development cost? Can you sustain the effort required? Question 6. Who else benefits from your current scattered approach? This is often the most revealing question. Someone profits from your lack of focus. Someone gains advantage from your strategic confusion. Your scattered approach to enemy identification serves someone's interests. It may be obvious competitors. It may be internal resistance. It may be suppliers who benefit from inefficient operations. It may be employees who avoid accountability. Identify who loses when you gain clarity. They will resist your polarity strategy. Plan accordingly. Victory definition and measurement. Question 7. What would victory look like against this enemy? Victory must be specific, measurable, and time-bound. Success is not victory. Improvement is not victory. Progress is not victory. Victory is 25% market share in the Northeast region by December 31st. Victory is customer satisfaction scores above 90% for 6 consecutive months. Victory is 60% gross margins on our core product line. Vague victory definitions produce vague strategies and vague results. Question 8. How will you measure progress toward victory? Weekly metrics. Monthly assessments. Quarterly reviews. Annual evaluations. What specific data will tell you whether your polarity strategy is working? Leading indicators predict future victory. Lagging indicators confirm past results. Point 31. You need both, but leading indicators matter more for strategic adjustment. If your victory definition is market share increase, leading indicators might include sales pipeline growth, customer inquiry volume, competitor response intensity, pricing pressure changes. Question 9. What would happen if you achieve complete victory against this enemy? Sometimes winning creates new problems. Sometimes eliminating one enemy elevates another. Sometimes victory changes the entire competitive landscape in unexpected ways. Strategic foresight. What second-order effects will your victory create? What new enemies might emerge? What new opportunities might appear? What new capabilities might be required? Commitment and sacrifice assessment. Question 10. What are you willing to sacrifice to defeat this enemy? Victory always requires sacrifice. Point 32. Time, money, relationships, other opportunities, personal comfort, team stability. The Stoics teach us to count the cost before beginning any campaign. Halfway commitment produces total failure.